Oh, for goodness sake. You think I'm crying? Oh my, oh, and I ain't. And I didn't want to write a song, 'cause I didn't want people thinking I still care. I don't, but you still hit my phone up. All right, that's how I feel, and that's how these people make me feel.
And I'll tell you things that you already know, so you can say, I really identify with you so much. I'll come to you like an affliction, but I'll leave you like an addiction. You'll never forget me. You wanna know why? 'Cause I'm
All right, so if you were mentioned or shown, you are someone I've spent a lot of time listening to and reading your words. I'm asking you to take a few minutes to educate yourself on the impact you have had on others out of self-respect, yours and mine. All of you have expressed a desire or need to have your words taken seriously, incredibly. Regardless of intention, similar as to when I was the victim of in an abusive relationship, or what would be expected living and having a child with someone diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder, formerly known as multiple personality disorder. Maybe it's not about because it's not about one incident, as much as many others. It can be difficult to express and or others understand how someone's actions could have such an impact on another. With my ex, she accused me of abusing her, which seems to have been believed, and we're not in contact, so it seems reasonable for many people to believe that I wouldn't be impacted much, if at all, by anything associated to mental health or child safety. When I was a teenager, I was choked out by an NYPD officer in Kansas. When I was a teenager as well, I had a cop put a gun to my head. I've had an unlawful arrest, but I haven't been able to sue or otherwise be able to get justice for those things or accountability. So you would think it seems reasonable that people would say I shouldn't be that impacted by news of police brutality and misconduct. And all of you, it would seem reasonable to many others as well that you're not like someone with mood disorder, and you're not a bad cop, and you're not a liar, or you're not an abuser. But the thing is, I know otherwise. Also, to clarify, it's not reasonable for any of these people mentioned or shown to not know about me or the account, or that their actions may have been hurtful. Some follow, others I have followed. Some have liked posts and commented. Some others I've liked and commented their posts. But all these things have been going on since 2016. So without further delay, here's how each of you have affected me in the last 10 hours or so since I woke up around 2 a.m. last night. Got triggered by a post, went to sleep again, woke up again to reminders of how and why I've experienced each of you to be liars and are making a liar out of me. So let's start.
God!
They didn't shoot him.
Yes, they did.
No way.
Bro.
No way. They just. Did they just shoot?
So I'm gonna go over these quickly. That was an Asian young man named Christian. It seems like I haven't read much more of the story, but apparently he was shot by police. He had his hands up. It looks really horrible. The thing about that was posted by Attorney Crump. Now, Attorney Crump, this is kind of the difference. The reason why that triggered me is obviously he's an attorney. I very much need an attorney's help. He is the type of attorney that would be perfect. He also posted recently about he was looking specifically for people who had malpractice in healthcare, which is also something that I'm looking for help with. That obviously triggered me, one, because of the police misconduct, two, because I haven't been able to, for some reason, contact him. That's one of the reasons he's not mentioned. In other words, he triggered me but I can't particularly say he's been a liar or has been true to his word or hasn't helped me when he could have, because I haven't been able to contact him. But let's kind of move on. So that happened. And then this was posted, I think, by survivors, for survivors. Yeah. Apparently, this was a 13-year-old girl who was killed in the Bay Area. It seems like she was kind of ganged up and bullied on for many reasons. That's just a horrible story. Obviously, I care about my own daughter as well, and her safety. So kind of moving on from that. Then this is around 2 a.m. Then I saw this from Stevie Weavy. Now, this is one of the people that's shown. Stevie Weavy, why do I follow him? I actually have no idea fully. I know that I eventually came across his account. He is a black man who apparently worked for the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, the U.S. government. Felt as if he was discriminated from, while he was there. Did try to take him to court and sued. He has a couple different posts about it. He's also an alcoholic. I'm an alcoholic. I haven't drank in years as well, but I didn't go through AA. The reason it's helpful is because, I've spoken about that. For me and him, as far as how's he qualified to help, he's obviously an intelligent person. He can kind of figure out what's going on. He's lost his mother, so he can understand how difficult it would be for myself to have my mother, who is alive, and yet not be able to communicate with her in a way that is productive and helpful, as well as obviously it affects a lot of other things. So that's kind of the deal with Stevie. I have no idea why he has acted the way he has acted about my account or the interactions we've had. It is extremely hurtful. It feels as if he doesn't even respect, just even outside of anything else, just the own struggles that we share with alcoholism. But in a certain sense, I never went to AA. I do feel as if, in a certain sense, I completed my 12 steps without even knowing it, because I did try to help him. I did try to get people to, find out about his situation and try to support him. And so it is hurtful that he has never felt the need or ability to be able to do anything even similar to me. DIOM LIM, the whole thing with her is, I ended up tagging her in a few posts of about hate crimes. I had an SFPD police officer at my residence a couple of weeks ago. I'm supposedly under investigation for hate crime. The whole thing's recorded. I have posted about it. I have called her out on the internet. I've tagged her in a few posts, and she's never responded. And it is very specifically about Asian hate crime, even if it was just for the newsworthy event of there's literally an entire interaction with an SF police department officer and someone they are interviewing as part of a hate crime investigation. The whole thing is there. So even just that alone would be worth her at least reaching out or kind of wanting to report on that somehow or another. That hasn't happened. I do want to take the opportunity to kind of make it clear as well too. I just recently found out, which I believe this is a kind of a news story as well as it is. I just recently found out that it may be that Instagram has limited my reach in ways that I was not even aware of. In other words, maybe these people, for DIOM LIM specifically, maybe she has no idea that I ended up tagging her in post. The reason I say that is because recently I had an incident with Whole Foods in which I made a post and tagged them in it, but I posted that same post on two different accounts. For some reason, Whole Foods responded to the other accounts, but not my main account, Sueñando, which made me kind of think, unless I'm so famous and special that even Whole Foods knows to, treat or interact with my account the way many others have, it's more than likely that something else is going on. So it may be that that's going on as well. So DIOM LIM is a little bit different than these others in the sense that it may be possible that she has no idea that I've tagged her in post. But either way, as part of her job alone, it would be part of the knowledge of what's going on. So that's where that's kind of hurtful and weird. Moving on from that. Then I saw this.
You know where this pose comes from? So I often mention how Black American culture dominates the nation, yet
So I saw that, and that was kind of just kind of crazy in the sense of that was actually really driving me crazy. I don't know if you saw that. That's that pose that people are doing. It's all viral now. The first time I saw that, I was kind of like, I know that's from fucking somewhere else. And apparently it is from basketball. Apparently it's kind of one of those things that Black culture did a very long time ago, and now it's being appropriated. The reason I even I'm mentioning it is because for so long is a kind of example that for so long things like that would happen, and for some reason I would not even see another post about it. So I would be alone in this world where I was like, I know that's something weird, but I couldn't look it up, and then nobody else was talking about it, and so it would kind of add to a sense of confusion of kind of what's going on in the world. Then I saw this, and this just kind of triggered me in the sense of just this is intense, and it's kind of like the whole ally thing that I've been kind of talking about, where it seems the U.S. may be thrown into a conflict through allies. And then I saw this. This triggered me very much so. It's about domestic violence. I have a post in which I ended up seeing an incident of domestic violence and filming the entire thing. So, and what ended up happening was this couple it was a man, a woman, and then another woman as well. They were having an altercation or kind of arguing. I happened to be passing by. The altercation had been happening, it seemed, for a little bit before I started filming it. So I started filming it. Within about maybe 20-30 seconds of me filming it, the guy ends up pushing one of the women to the ground. And then it seems because the incident was happening before I began filming it, the police arrived within like 20 or 30 seconds after that. So it looks, I mean, to me, it seems very clear what happened, but I guess it also seems, because it's not normal, or it's a kind of an odd thing to be able to catch an incident like that from beginning to end in a situation like that. I posted it. People have seemed to think that I posted it as if like I made the whole thing up. I don't know if they believe that I have the budget to like have police actors, because also too the during the incident, some of the like for some reason one of the women says a line that is in the movie Sling Blade. So it seems like, it also seems kind of fake in that sense, but it's a very real incident. Anyway, the point with that being is, I obviously have my own history of domestic violence. There is that very real incident of domestic violence in which that woman, granted she was just pushed to the ground, but it's kind of the point being of, I threw it out there on YouTube, I threw it out there on Instagram. Literally from the moment that I've thrown that out there, people have been attacking me as if like I made the entire thing up, or like I'm putting it up for some, I don't know, malicious reason, when really it's just another incident of it's just an incident of crime, just like the George Floyd situation, of anything else in which I happen to be able to have filmed it and posted it, and so that's very hurtful. It's very weird and very, very hurtful. And so let's move on, because I don't want to take a lot of time on this. Then I saw this from Alfredo Ayuda. Now the thing is with Alfredo Ayuda, he is a therapist, a mental health therapist. I actually called him back in December of not 2020, of 2019, pretty desperate. I also sent him an entire email trying to ask him for help with my mother. It was one of the strangest conversations I had. It was about a 10-minute conversation in which he offered absolutely no help, and actually was extremely hurtful without getting into a lot of details. The thing about it is, I still see him online. He's a therapist. He's a licensed therapist. The interaction that we had both on the phone and the email, it's all in Spanish. As you can see, he doesn't even really have that much of a presence online. So I get kind of conflicted as to how much I want to deal with trying to get help with it, but it's also a very weird situation in the sense of I don't know if he's confused. I don't know what's happening, but it's not okay. And here he is reporting about if you need help in Florida with abuse, literally what I contacted him for. and yet he not only was he not able to provide help, he was very, very hurtful. So moving on, then I saw this post around after I woke up around 9 in the morning. Do you ever just come across your ex on social media and think, I don't know what demon possessed me to date that, but I'm glad it moved on to a new host. The reason this triggered me was because of bitchy quotes. Now, the thing is, like, I followed that account for years. You can see I've reposted a lot of the things. But this is an example of one of those where it's hard for me to describe what the hell is going on with me mentally. In the sense of, there's other things that I definitely agree with and I did repost, but this is one of those examples of, this is totally not me. I wouldn't be looking at my ex's social media. I think people who do that are really fucking weird. And so, yeah, it's kind of that. I'll move on from that, but that's just that. Like, it's just weird that I followed that for so long and totally not something I would do.
Is this man and once an embryo? Am I solid gold? I don't cast the glow.
So
Yes, I guess it's reflex. Some have no control. I'd rather let up.
that's just I saw that. One of my favorite fucking albums. Moving on, that was actually fucking kind of cool. Then this is from Perez
We've only known each
Hilton.
other for, or we've only been dating for 6
What
months.
triggered
blah,
me
blah,
with
blah.
this
We
particular
have known
post,
each other for
Perez ended up using the word grooming in there. Now, the thing with Perez is Perez has ended up liking a few of my posts over the last year. They've been very personal posts. They've been very more direct to the point of I'm looking for help posts. And they're very, it's very indicative that it is help with kind of with child safety. So it's very odd for that to have happened as it is. I don't know if it's his sister, because he's mentioned his sister sometimes controls his Instagram. I don't know if it's other people. I don't know if he was doing a bot thing. I know that I have reached out many, many times and said, what the fuck is going on? You look like a pedophile. Why won't you clarify what's happening? And he just hasn't. So whenever I see his posts, and it's just kind of, it's one of those where que busca encuentra kind of thing. That's a Spanish phrase of, you, I guess, who if you seek it, you'll find it kind of thing, where I don't want to believe that he's a pedophile. I mean, it could be, it could just be that it's looking that way. But between what I know from experience, which is he, for some reason, has actually liked and interacted with a post of mine in which I'm asking for help, and then not, didn't provide that help. It seems very kind of like it just seems very fucking odd, and it's hard to kind of justify in my head. So there's that, and of course that's obviously hurtful, because whether it be publicly or behind the scenes, him just kind of like DIOM LIM and kind of everybody really, they would be able to help, but him even more so, in the sense of the essence of why I'm asking for help is that I'm not able to find it on my own, and to have somebody else be able to just kind of somebody like him of his stature, if he recommended a therapist or a lawyer, or even just kind of like, I'm watching you, and same thing with DIOM LIM, well, then it would be more likely that I would be able to find help, whether it be with a doctor or a lawyer or a therapist. So moving on from that, then there's Jenny Lee Is Me. Now, Jenny Lee Is Me is someone who has worked for news agencies and things like that. What's interesting about Jenny Lee Is Me, I guess, is that I've actually watched and listened to her words more than I have DIOM LIM, who's the local news reporter I mentioned previously. Jenny Lee's in Miami. I'm not exactly sure why or how I started following Jenny Lee. Again, a lot of these things go back to like 2016. But I do know that I have tried to, what I haven't been able to do is reach out to her in a very more professional or non-emotional, I guess, kind of sense of saying, hey, like, I am, I'm looking for help. What's going on? But one of the reasons I haven't been able to do that is her actions are so confusing, in the sense of, like, her account now follows my account. She did that on March 5th, 305 day. I have no idea why she did that. In other words, I have no idea why she's following my account. My account on the profile says I'm not looking for followers. I'm only looking for helpers. She's literally one of those people. And so again, it's kind of one of those, with her, it's much more difficult to kind of figure out why she's acted the way she's acted, versus somebody like even like Perez, where Perez has definitely had more interactions with my account. He's liked more of my posts, where Jenny Lee has only followed my account. But she has followed my account after years of being aware kind of who I am and like what's going on. And even though I've not always been able to express myself clearly of the help I'm looking for or why or what, she should have been able to put together. And then the following my account is just weird. It's kind of like Stevie Wee Wee as well, that I mentioned earlier. There's really no reason to be continuing to follow my account. There's really no reason also why you wouldn't block me at this point in time, because all of you have basically by your actions have indicated that I'm either somehow untrustworthy or that I'm just kind of playing around on the internet. And then you've also decided to either interact with my account by liking something or just not even blocking me. In other words, kind of acting as if there's no way you could possibly know anything about my account, which is just not reasonable to believe. So moving on, from Jenny Lee, and then we have Emma. Now, Emmmabooks is actually really, really hurtful. It actually really hurts when I saw her. Emma, I believe I've been following since, I think, 2016. Now, the thing with Emma is that Emma used to do these lives almost daily for a long time. And I used to spend pretty much literally from morning to night all day long on Instagram. So I would watch her lives while she was doing makeup. Now, one of the things about that is, for me, most of the women I've dated have never done makeup. Like, they don't put on a lot of makeup. But female friends I have. I've also had a lot of male friends who take quite a while to get ready. So that kind of thing of sitting there and watching someone getting ready to go out and putting makeup for like even like an hour, sometimes like it would take her a while, right? But like she's talking and she was actually interacting and responding to comments and things like that, was helpful to me in that sense. But what ended up happening was, like I said, I was dealing with my own kind of mental health issues and reaching out for help. And so I may have not always been able to express it clearly. But because Emma is a psychology student, also dealing with criminology, she studied both of those. It just hurts a lot because she is very qualified to help me. Her opinion is one that I would very much appreciate. I have reached out. I know from the amount of times that we interacted with comments in her lives, it'd be difficult to believe that she has no idea what's going on, especially in retrospect. I didn't realize, again, this is kind of one of those things where I didn't realize that she has a lot of young followers. It was kind of really... I hesitate to use inappropriate because it's in the sense of I don't believe it really would be inappropriate for anyone to have been part of her lives that way, her live streams. But considering what I know now, I now understand that I'm a straight male, a little bit older than her, considering her audience and things like that. It would seem odd that I would spend so much time in there and trying to focus of trying to interact with her, and even some of her at least commenters, at least while in the live stream. But the reason I was doing that was more because I didn't have the ability to kind of like understand or kind of at least process that fully. What I was processing was that this was somebody who was on a live stream in a situation that I felt comfortable interacting with, who was also interactive with comments. I was trying to reach out to this person for help and trying to clarify how and why I needed this help and how or why they were qualified, and they never acknowledged that. But even more so, they never, like I said, like she didn't. It would seem to me as if at some point in time she should have blocked me, and it's one of those things where it's like, how does that affect me daily? Well, with everybody, it's kind of the same thing. in the sense of, when I see her post, I get confused, because it's very difficult to really believe that, it's not reasonable to believe that she has no idea what's going on, but at the same time it's also reasonable to believe that she may not. That's kind of one of the reasons why I'm also doing this as it is. It's kind of, hopefully, it is somewhat off the cuff, so I apologize that it hasn't been as well organized maybe, but it's kind of just simply something like, Emma, if you happen to see this, very, very truly, you are someone who's truly very, very qualified, and I would very much appreciate being able to have a conversation with you about my life. But as far as how you've been hurtful, it has been not. I don't, again, for all of you, it's a weird situation up to, depending on whether or not you follow me back and things like that. But it's one of these things where I think that maybe people are confused with mental health and things like that. In the situation I was, whether it was then, now it's a little different, but it's still this kind of same thing where the refusal, in a sense, to like even just block me was really odd, because what kind of says to me, or what it indicates, is that there seems to be some indication that I am looking for help, that I'm not lying to you, that I'm not being creepy or weird. In other words, not really worthy of you blocking me. But at the same time, there's also an indication that you are aware of my existence, and that I may need help from you, whether, depending on how clear that may be to you. So it's just, I don't know, especially for you, especially with younger followers and things like that, because I was very much in a situation that realistically a lot of teenagers can kind of relate to, as far as the way I was isolated, and know that you can be affecting people negatively in the way that you're ignoring them. And then finally,
And I'll tell you things that you already know.
I think I didn't include the who was pictured there at first, which is Bipolar Barbie. I apologize, I wasn't able to load that. But Bipolar Barbie is the same thing. Literally, up to about, I would say January or December, I was in a very totally different mind state. And I had a few things that happened that were at least hopeful, and kind of led to me being a little bit less triggered, and even being able to do this. This is something that up to literally right now, I have wanted to do for years. I mean, it's not that complicated. It's just kind of explaining how and why I interact with your account, and how it may have affected me negatively, or it has affected me negatively. Bipolar Barbie it's pretty simple. With her, I have no idea how I started, or why I started following the account. It was probably through hashtags. The reason why I would have is just because you're bipolar. You're one of the few you're the only one that I've mentioned that is known to have a mental disorder. Obviously, the mother of my child, like I said, was diagnosed with a mental disorder. There's questions as to how much that's affecting her life daily, as well as my daughter's safety, as well as I was dating someone who was bipolar for a little bit. One of the reasons I ended up breaking up with them was because they were bipolar and they weren't taking their medication. So I had figured following your account would help me kind of figure out what bipolar looks like in other people, and mood disorders. Long story short on that's pretty much why I followed you. I also I was dealing with my own mental health issues, but I made a post about specifically you, and how helpful it's been following you, and why I was thankful. And for some reason, you didn't even acknowledge it, didn't like it, didn't do anything. Again, I'm kind of realizing now that apparently Instagram has done this thing where my account goes kind of in and out of being shadow banned. And it may be possible that even if I tag you on a post on my account on Soñando, you may not see it. I don't know one way or the other. I do know that I ended up doing that with Whole Foods. I put a post on my account Soñando, as well on my backup accounts, or other accounts like Who is question mark, or Like Your Opinion. And for some reason, Whole Foods ended up responding only to the one on Who is question mark. Now, again, unless I am super fucking famous, and everybody knows me, that doesn't make any sense. It would be the Who is question mark account looks like a spam account. My Soñando account, at the very least, you could tell I'm a real person, because it says not looking for followers, looking for qualified help, blah, blah, blah. So it could be that, Bipolar Barbie, you've never even seen the fact that I reached out to you. But I really can't I can't express how hurtful that is. You have bipolar. I think it's, you could imagine if someone has helped you mentally get over something, or just feel better, and you try to express that thanks to them, and they just ignore you, how hurtful that would be to you. I could say for me, it's been immensely hurtful. And so every time I see your post, I'm confused, because I don't know whether or not you're doing that intentionally or not. And it is difficult to want to, for all of you, to want to do this, because it's kind of one of those things where, like I said, it can somewhat seem reasonable to others, and even myself at times, that it's like, oh, maybe you don't know anything that's going on. Maybe you have no idea that you're being that hurtful. And I, trying to take my own ownership for my own part on that. But there is also the fact that, all of you have done actual actual actions on your own, for which do seem very, very odd as well, and are fully hurtful. So the last person I'm going to mention is Queenzflip. I didn't put his picture on here, but he ended up, I saw a post of his where he did these things. He just kind of held up shit to the camera or whatever. And it kind of also inspired me to go ahead and do this. Queenzflip is another one of those people who I interacted with the account for years, at least since 2016, if not longer. I believe around 2016. But anyway, it's not reasonable for him to say that he has no idea who I am or what's going on, or that I need help. And he's acting extremely shady, and actually out of everybody, the most amount of shady, as far as, whether it just kind of is what it is. For him, he's either taking advantage of information for criminal reasons. He could be doing it just for his own show, trying to kind of like just play off the fact that I interact with the show, and then trying to keep it, trying to make it seem as if it's all not serious. I don't know, but I do know that there's no longer a question with him either, whether or not it's reasonable or not, for him to have acted the way he's acted. Like I said, everybody that's been mentioned has different kind of levels. Perez is actually kind of liked post, and it's kind of weird, that he's liked post, specifically asking for help, specifically dealing with child safety. And then when I see his post, he keeps kind of going and slipping really into the grooming and the pedophilia and like all these things. It just seems odd considering his interactions. Emmmabooks is kind of Emmmabooks. It's one of those where, as far as the last few years, is probably more reasonable for her to say like, no, I don't know what's going on, or I don't remember. But really, for a long time, there was a lot of interactions with that account. In retrospect, I can look back on it and think it's very difficult to believe, even just from the interactions in her account, that she wouldn't have either blocked me or understood what's going on. It just feels weird for her to have acted the way she's acted. DIOM LIM is the same. DIOM LIM maybe is totally unaware, but if she's totally unaware, even just from work-wise, it makes no sense for her to ignore my account and my attempts to at least reach out to her. Stevie Wee Wee is the same thing. It makes no sense. It's difficult for me to understand how he would not understand how hurtful he's personally been. And Queenzflip is kind of the same thing. And so I think that's kind of everybody mentioned. Hopefully it gets you a little bit understanding of how and why someone would even be making a post completely about you. It is because if I hadn't, I would basically go through my entire day, and I probably still will to a certain point, but literally kind of wondering, why is it that you have taken, for some of you, has actually put more effort into not wanting to clarify whether or not you are a person who is wanting to allow child abuse or police brutality and misconduct, or basically a lot of injustices. In other words, are you a person, in other words, not wanting to clarify whether whether Perez Hilton is not a pedophile and is actually against child abuse. And Queenzflip himself, why would Queenzflip not want to clarify that he is not a pedophile and that he does not want to support police officers and police brutality? Not that he doesn't want to support police, but police officers. DIOM LIM, the same thing. It's kind of like she reports on hate crime. So why, there's only a certain amount of time, only a certain amount. It's like, well, why would you ignore so many? It's not just one. It's actually many posts, as well as now SFPD as well involvement in literally Asian hate crime investigation, and not even acknowledge the existence. So that's kind of it. I don't want to go. Hopefully, didn't take too much time, and you've been able to actually see this, because the fact is, all of you have affected my life negatively, and I would like that to change. It's not really a conclusion of this. This wasn't very well thought out in that sense, other than just kind of letting you know what's going on. It's just kind of like, I guess I will try to either DM you guys or let you guys know one way or another that this has been posted, and then kind of, I guess, follow up to see why, if you do or you don't respond to me, because at this point, and really it's been like that for a while, even that itself is just that itself has become another question as to how could it be that regardless of anything else, so many of you are so hesitant or reluctant, or just basically treating me as if I'm so famous that you're not able to, you have to calculate and I don't know, kind of figure out your approach to responding to either this or any other post, versus just acknowledging that I'm just a regular person reaching out to you because you've actually had an effect in my life, and wanting to clarify whether or not you are at least even aware of that. You know what I mean? Anyway, enjoy your day.